Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for another Mandy Facebook Live session. I'm Colin. I'm hosting today with some amazing guests. We have the fantastic Marlene Sutton from DDO in LA, and we have the amazing Jennifer Goldhar from the Characters Agency. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Jennifer and Marlene, we're super excited to have you today. For those of you who are watching, today we're going to be talking about something that sort of plagues actors, I think, from the get-go, no matter what part of their career they're in, which is how to get signed by an agent, how to maintain that relationship, and how to sort of make sure that both the agency and the actor are getting the most out of the experience that they possibly can. We have two sort of industry veterans, pros here, who are going to offer some differing and interesting perspectives on that. Before we do that, I'd love to hear a little bit about you guys, and you can share sort of with the folks who are watching a little bit about yourself and how you got into the industry and sort of your personal journey. And then we could talk a little bit about your agencies as well. Marlene, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been at this for quite some time. I started in, I want to say mid to late 80s. My uncle has well, he's now retired, but had a talent agency called Sutton, Barth and Venari, which is still alive and kicking. And that's how I got my start. I just thought, oh, how cool, actors in commercials, and they had a kids division. And I thought, wow, this is really neat. And he gave me a job there. I started off by answering the phones and signing people to contracts, doing the contracts for the clients, and little by little worked my way up to being an agent, a commercial agent specifically. I worked there for about 10 years, learned my craft there. And then I went over to Acme Talent Literary and headed their commercial division for 2 years. And then I went over to DDO and became a partner there. So I'm one of the partners and oversee the commercial division. And we have incredible agents that are just awesome and do the day-to-day submissions while I oversee everything. I do all the SAG negotiations, and yeah, I'm a native local LA gal and lived here all my life. And yeah, this is what I know, commercials.
Thank you. Awesome. Jen, you want to tell us a little bit about your backstory?
Sure. So interestingly, also through family that I got into the business. So the Characters is actually my dad's company that he started. We're in our 52nd year. And so I grew up with it. And, my sister and my brother, I don't remember if he did summers with us, but my sister and I used to work a lot of summers, and we'd go in and we'd, file pictures. They had this service that they would send the photos back so that the pictures could be recycled and reused. And we used to go and file them for them. It was a big job, and it was a great way to get to know the clients. And so when I went to school, I had known that I wanted to get into the business in some capacity, although I thought at the time that I might want to be a sports agent because I was a big sports fanatic. And when I came out of school, there was a baseball strike and it was hard to get a job at a sports agency. And I was like, Dad, I'm going to come work for you until I get a job. And about a week after I started, one of the assistants had quit and they asked me to step in. And then sort of the end of it, it just spiraled from there. And I felt like I just was very natural at it and very good at it. And I just loved it. And so I've been there. I think I started in 95 and became an agent about 3 years later. And then my dad retired about 5 years ago. And so I've been running the company for the last 5 years. My brother is also an agent at the Characters, and he's my vice president. And so we're both running the company now.
I love that. Both family business sort of enterprise here. It's very cool. Jen, can you tell us a little bit more about the Characters? Sort of, I know you said it's been around for 52 years, but sort of what geographical areas you serve, how many clients you generally have, that kind of thing.
Sure. So we've been around, as you mentioned, and I mentioned 52 years. We're a cross-country agency, so we have offices in Toronto and Vancouver. We also have a Calgary office that I like to call a satellite of the Vancouver office. And we are a full service agency. So we have an acting division. We have a lit department that represents writers, directors, producers, and below the line talent. We have a commercial department. They represent all our clients for on-camera and voiceover commercials. And it's a really great place to work. My dad really created a very family-oriented feel. And while we'd be looked upon as a boutique agency in the United States, in Canada, we're the largest agency. And but we still really have a real family feel. And I think it's a great thing. We have a lot of agents who've been with us a long time, several in our Toronto office that have been with us 30 to 35 years. And I really attribute that to my dad, Larry, who really created a great atmosphere and a really amazing work environment for people to want to stick around.
That's really, really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. Marlene, do you want to tell us a little bit about DDO? Sort of same thing where you guys, your markets, your roster size, that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, when I came on, we just had an LA office. So we have commercials, we have theatrical, we have voiceover. We have Julie Goods, who has our voiceover division in LA. We're definitely full service. We have a theatrical division. We have offices in New York and Chicago. So we're definitely full service. We have, under the umbrella of DDO, we also have a company called Movement Talent Agency, represents dancers, choreographers, special skill people. We pretty much do it all. And we've been around since the late 70s. Dorothy Deotis was the original owner of DDO, and she represented a lot of the big hit stars from the 70s. I'm trying to think of the name and I'm blanking right now, but a lot of the top kids that were in shows then. And we've reestablished our kids division. We have Laura Theed that heads that. She's incredible. We have theatrical. Yeah, we're full service pretty much. I have a little bit of everything. Client size, I probably considered mid-size. I wouldn't, I probably have a few hundred in our commercial division. I wouldn't know how many all the other divisions have, but yeah, we definitely are considered mid-size, if anything. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it's really cool. I didn't even realize that we're talking about sort of these two agencies that have been around for really a long time, in this industry. Little boutique agencies, especially, they come and they go and they sort of fly by night sometimes, but I think the staying power really speaks to the kind of, enterprise that your teams have created over time. It's really awesome. So we're talking today about how to get an agent. At Mandy, we hear from actors all the time, sort of, how do I get into this sort of big, dark, scary tunnel of figuring out how to be represented? And so I appreciate you guys taking the time to sort of help us sort of pull back the cover on that and sort of show what it's actually like. The first question I hear a lot is, at what point does an actor need an agent? We have, of course, tons of talent on our site who are self-submitting and getting sort of, day player roles and little gigs and non-union commercials, things like that. Is there a moment or a tipping point for an actor at which they do need that representation? Is it case by case? What is your sort of take on that?
I'll jump in. It's hard to say if there's an exact time. We get submissions all the time. We get submissions from casting directors. We have current clients that send us people. We have, we get emails every day, and so much of what's going on now is very real people. So we're open to everyone all the time. A lot of real people casting, a lot of special skills. They're looking for people who own restaurants from your A-list actors. So it's hard to say if there's a certain time. Obviously, we want the actors to have done the research and look everything up and kind of know what they're getting into, take the classes, find out about headshots, know what the agency is about, don't just do a blanket email and send it, get a little specific, keep things short and sweet. Just know your craft, do some research. And I think anytime, obviously take your classes and do your improv and all that. You definitely want to come with a little more experience than being completely green. That being said, we're open to so many different types of people. And it just has to be someone that fits on our roster at that time and what the pull is and what people are wanting.
I think you make a really good point. I don't know that there's a specific time that makes it right to get an agent, but I do believe that it's very difficult to be in this business without an agent. And that is unfortunately a reality. And one of the things that makes our business really hard is that it's a bit of a vicious circle. To get an agent, you need experience, but without experience, you can't get the agent. But how do you get the experience without an agent? So it's a bit of a circle. And I think, you know, you made a good point. Doing your homework is really important. Doing the classes, learning about the business so that you are more prepared and you're not just completely green. But at the same time, I think you could be totally green. And if you have just a natural ability and you have innate talent, then you may just, it depends on the day. You might catch an agent in a moment where they weren't busy, that they had time to watch the submission and say, wow, she's really good, or he was really terrific, or I wasn't expecting that, or you know what, I don't have anybody like that on my roster. So it's really hard to know when the timing is right, but I also believe that if you're going to be in this business and you're going to last in this business, you need to have persistence. You can't give up. You have to keep trying. And if you can't get an agent in the beginning, start taking classes, do something to build on your resume so that the next time you go searching for an agent, you have a little more to offer.
I love that. Yeah, you can't sort of sit and wait for something to happen. Marlene, I noticed you said at DDO, you guys are open to sort of, cold submissions, whatever referrals, whatever it might be. Jen, do you guys operate in the same way? Are you looking for more referrals from other clients, casting directors? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, we generally are by referral only, but we do have a general submission mailbox and we get, I'd say hundreds of submissions per week. But I think we look at them. All the agents get the submissions when they come in. And as I said, I very rarely take on new clients, but I take referrals very seriously and I meet a lot of people. And every once in a while, somebody shows up in your submission box that is not referred, that just stands out for some reason. And so that's why I say don't give up, because you could try and something great could happen. And then you try again 6 months later, or maybe you go take a class with a teacher that does have a connection to the agent you're looking for, and they can then refer you to that agency.
Totally. And so when we're talking about actors who are submitting, whether it is through a general submission inbox or through a referral, whatever it might be, what are the things that you're looking for? What are the sort of major elements that you need? You need to see this sort of demo reel. You need to see a certain number of credits on their resume, or certain style of credit, or is it a case-by-case situation? And also I would guess that this might be different, Marlene, in the commercial world than the theatrical side.
Theatrical. For commercials, definitely for commercials, we're looking for, keep it short and sweet when you submit. Give us a link, show us your work, tell us if you have an Instagram account or a special skill that you do. Like I said, we have incredible A-list actors and we've got very real people actors. Keep it simple. Let us know, like I said, if you have an Instagram account, or if there's some certain classes that you took, it's good to have improv classes on your resume. Over here, it's like the Groundlings and UCB. Improv is so important. That's a big component of commercials. Just that you can get up there and just kind of wing it. It doesn't have to be the perfect read. It can just be, they may just ask you in casting, what happened to you today? And, sometimes it's a certain look. If we need more redheads with freckles, or like Jen was saying, it could be so subjective, and the day and the time and who's submitting, but we're open to everything all the time. And a lot of the clients we have now, I believe, are referrals from clients that we already have, as well as casting, as well as people that are submitting. So just show that you're on your stuff, and keep it simple. Let us know if you have, now it's big, self-tape is a huge thing, and Zoom, and being tech savvy and tech ready, and having your different, Source Connect for voiceover, and it's Zoom links, and there's so many self-tape classes that are out there. Show us that you have the tools to self-tape. If you go out of town, you're able to, to have that, because so much of it now is with COVID is having those skills and knowing how to put your link of your audition up on the sites. And so that's a big part of it too. When I see people, oh, I'm tech ready and I have this, and this, that's kind of like, okay, you get what's going on. You're current with the times.
Right, paying attention. And how much, a lot of times we have actors asking us, and having been an actor myself in New York for 10 years, the question is always like, when should I get new headshots? Do I need to have fresh new headshots to submit to an agency like DDO? Or should I wait until maybe I'm working with an agency like DDO or the characters to get the guidance from my new rep in terms of what looks I should be trying to achieve? That kind of balance, because at the end of the day, headshots are an expense, and so how do you guys recommend actors sort of negotiate that in the process of getting an agent?
That's a really good question, and I don't know that I have the answer for it. And I think it really depends, because I think, especially, I would imagine, Marlene, and you can speak to this after I'm done, but I would think that for commercials, that look is so crucial, and it's all about a look. Whereas on the acting side, as the casting directors get to know you, the hope is that they know you, and so you're not going to rely as much on like different looks, that you can have one headshot, maybe two, that really make a statement. And yeah, you might want your agent or your manager to be involved in that decision. So having said that, you could get shots done, you could submit with shots, but then say, listen, I have the session, I'd love for you to look at them and see if there's something that stands out for you that you'd prefer that I use instead of this. It's expensive to take pictures. You're absolutely right. And I don't like to spend my clients' money willy-nilly. I like them to, they're making an investment. So I think that's an on the fence answer.
I really, that's really the idea of, sort of having all the shots from your session and saying, listen, I used these 2 or 3 to submit to you, but now that we're working together, here's the whole, the whole session, and have a look. That's sort of an interesting approach that I haven't thought of before. It's cool. Marlene,
yeah, from our perspective, we don't want you to get new shots to submit. Submit what you have. We can get a gist maybe from your link and your tape of what your type is, and then because a different agent may want different shots. You're going to spend all this money, take these shots, and then one agent likes this, or the other agent says no, go with a different photographer. So submit with what you got. And if we can tell if there's some interest, we can say, all right, if we do take you on, are you willing to get new headshots? We try and recommend photographers, some more affordable than others, depending on the budget and the situation. But we definitely say wait to get the shots on our end, because every agent wants something different.
Are there sort of any things or, red flags that you guys see right off the bat in the submission process? So, before you've even considered bringing someone in to have an interview, a meeting with them, is there something that you would see in a cold submission or in a referral submission that says like, red flag, no?
Well, I will say this, that we get so many submissions, and you see immediately when there are mistakes. If people don't take the time to look over their cover letter. Also, I understand that people, when they're looking for an agent, are going to submit to a lot of agencies. If you're going to copy and paste your cover letter, then you have to take real care to make sure that you're addressing the letter to the right agency. We've had people send blanket emails that they've obviously sent to multiple places, and they've put the wrong name at the top or the wrong agency name, things like that, that are just small details that I think matter. For me, when people are submitting, as I said, it really depends on timing for me and what state of mind I'm in and how busy I am, because generally I'm not looking to take someone on. But if I'm going to take the time to watch something, I like something to be a little bit unique or different about the submission, something that's going to catch my eye or that would bring attention to. If you have something that's unique about you, then it's worth mentioning.
Cool. Marlene, anything for you guys that are like sirens are going off and telling you to run in the other direction?
For me, it's when there's just way too much information. like paragraphs and paragraphs, or if so-and-so married so-and-so, you get me, and, just telling us what your type is. We can figure out what your type is. So simple to me, and I pass everything on to the agents, Julie and Candace and Cassie, and they, it's all a group team effort. Hey, are you guys interested in this person? But they do the day-to-day. I just oversee, but I look at everything, and if I see someone that looks, too much information, and or if I'm looking for theatrical rep, but if they look up on the website, we do commercials, or just know which agent to send to. Look on the website. If you're looking for theatrical notice, send it to Anthony, or, if you're looking for New York, send it to the New York agent or the Chicago agent. Get it straight, because then we know you're doing your homework. But keep it simple. Sometimes, hi, I'm looking for a rep. Here's my link. I've got this available, and it's like, boom, yeah.
It seems like, whether it's US, Canada, theatrical, commercial, taking that little bit of time to do just the finishing touches, the extra homework, make sure you're addressing the right person, really, really basic stuff, does actually make a difference. So that's good to hear. Let's talk about sort of the next step in the process for actors. I think it's, that exciting moment when you get a response email or a call. It's like, sure, let's meet. Come on in and let's have a look, That's exciting, I think, for a lot of actors, and also super daunting. But I'd love to sort of demystify some of those things. So for you guys, what does that process often look like? Is it come in and just have a chat, get to know you? Is that sometimes not part of the process? Is there, I want to see you read for me in person, I want to see some more materials, sort of how does that shake out normally?
So I would say that process has changed a little bit over the years. Now that auditioning on tape is so much easier and more accessible, I think that we have the opportunity to see people audition in advance of coming in, or, for us, because it's by referral, usually the people that are being sent to us have demo material. They're established, they're generally established performers or on the rise. We're generally an agency that a lot of people want to come to because we're a really good stepping stone to the next stage of their career, which may involve, outside of Canada, whether it's, going to the United States, or whether it's Europe, or whatever it is. We have access and contacts in all of, globally. So we're able to sort of be a bit of a launch pad. But when they come in, I would say for me, there's a big getting to know you process. I want to get to know the actor. I want to get to know what they're like. Who are they as a person? What do they connect to? What kind of material they connect to? Do we get along? Is there a connection there? I don't need to be friends with all my clients, but there needs to be a level of respect and appreciation. Mm-hmm. And you want to know how responsible somebody is, or, you might not get that in a meeting, but you get an idea if somebody tends to be more on the responsible side. Are they organized? Are they not organized? There's all sorts of things that I want to sort of get a feel for. This last 9 months has been really interesting. I haven't been actively taking people on, but I have met a few people over Zoom, and that's been, it's interesting. It's challenging to get to know a person, but at the same time, it's a great opportunity to still connect with somebody at a time when we haven't been meeting in person.
Totally. I love sort of what you're getting at here, which is that, like, this is a relationship. This is like a working relationship where, like, if there's some sort of like disharmony or discomfort or something that's just not working, ultimately you're not going to be a successful team in the same way that you could if there's some sort of connection.
Yeah, there has to be an element of trust that it's not going to happen in one meeting, but you have to feel that you can connect with someone in a way that's going to allow you to build trust over time. And I need to know that my clients trust what I'm doing, because I have to do all the work on their behalf. And most of the time they don't know what I'm doing. So they have to trust that I'm working hard and pushing for them and fighting for them. And I have to be able to trust that they're doing what they need to do on their end of things, whether that's taking classes and fine tuning their acting muscles, or, updating their demo and making sure their material is prepared and ready and up to date. These are things that we, and then from there, once you decide that you're a good fit, then the get to knowing process starts. It's like you're dating in the beginning. You're sending material. You're getting to know what they like, what they don't like. You send scripts and someone's, I don't really like this, and you tell them maybe why you think that they should consider it anyway, or no problem, you don't like it, we'll find something else. It's a process, and you don't ever want to go into a relationship thinking that it's only going to last 6 months. You want to think that you're, going to have longevity.
Right. Absolutely. Marlene, how does that work for you guys at DDO?
Well, before the pandemic, it was people submitting or getting referrals, and set up a meeting and meet people, and I'll look at their read and make a decision, which is great. And then now we're doing everything, because I've got people working in different states right now because of the pandemic. Everyone is working remotely in the commercial division. So it's actually really cool, because now we'll do a screening, see if we're interested. If there's interest after, we'll send them information. We'll give them copy and give them, tell them what we want to see, and they'll send us the read. And then we look at the read, and then if there's interest, then they're set up for a meeting. If they're set up for a meeting, that's a good sign that there's interest. So we've actually taken people on virtually. We've taken maybe, 20, almost 30 people on, and a couple have already booked. And, it's incredible what can work virtually. I used to also like to meet everyone once again in person and just tell them a little bit about me. And, I follow up with everyone after the girls are excited about taking people. I follow up and get to know them. And, but yeah, it's definitely changed. It's definitely, and it's interestingly enough, it's working, that we get to know the people. Yeah, it helps me too to follow them on Instagram and get to know more about them. I could see if they're a dancer or a great basketball player or a cook or, so it has changed significantly, but it's working.
It's nice to hear
but
that.
I do miss the day when we can see them in person and go, hey, like we're going to meet them all in person after the pandemic, but so far so good. That's
great. So do you, someone comes in, someone takes a meeting, someone interviews, again, is there something that is it just a vibe? Is it a feeling? Is there something that is an instant put off for you when you're meeting with someone for the first time? Or is it kind of just, are we a match, sort of feeling it out?
I think it's just, it sort of has to feel organic. Like you can't really know in advance how you're going to feel about someone. I could tell you, many, many years ago when I first started, a casting director had called me up. Actually, he was an actor at the time, not a casting director, and asked me, it was a client of ours, and said, hey, can you meet my friend? So 2 of our clients said, can you meet this girl? She's great. We'd love for you to meet her. And I was like, sure, no problem, but I'm really not taking anybody on. She came in and it was like instant love. I don't know. I had no intention of taking this girl on. We sat down, we spent well over an hour just talking. We somehow just connected on many levels. And she walked out of my office a client. That was in 1998. She is still my client to this day. We're very good friends, and she works all the time. She's a success story that I couldn't have known before she came to see me. There was just something about her that felt right. And we connected, and it's worked for a lot of years. And I think that happens. Sometimes you meet people and it's really awkward, and somehow you don't have a comfort with them. And then other times you meet them and it's just so easy.
It's like, it's really interesting because it's kind of the same thing as the actor's work on camera or on stage, right? It's like you still have to bring that authentic you to whatever you're doing. And that's what's going to ultimately fuel the process. And it's no different in sort of business end. I think that's really cool. So do you guys freelance with clients ever, or are you guys signed only relationships?
For us, it's signed only. Yeah, we're not big on freelancing. You can't have more than one commercial agent in LA. So if you're with us, you're signed. Yeah, we don't do freelancing, generally speaking.
Same with us. only signing. One of the things that's different about agencies in Canada compared to the US and most of the Canadian agents are very managerial in the way they work, and we have our own individual roster. So for example, at the Characters, we have 9 talent agents. We each have our own roster of talent. We don't share the clients. We only share our clients with the commercial and voice department. And so it's not the same as being at a big American agency where one agent might hip pocket somebody and decide to see how things go and then try and convince everybody else to come on board. We don't need we don't need everybody else to pass them. If I connect with someone and I want them on my roster, then I'm going to sign them, and same with the other agents at our office.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And do you generally find that you have a specific length of contract right off the bat, or does it vary from client to client?
We initially sign for 1 year, and sometimes if it's been a while and they've been with us, we'll go to 2 year. For some people, it just depends on the comfort level. I'd say 1 to 2 years. Yeah, 1 year initially, and then when they re-sign, usually a year, sometimes 2 years. It's on the comfort level of the talent. But yeah, we do keep everyone re-signed. And again, I'm speaking commercially. I'm not speaking for the other divisions and New York, Chicago, and theatrical, but that's how.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have an association in Canada called TAMAC. It's an agents association, and all the members of TAMAC use the same template for their contract. Mm-hmm. And it's basically a minimum of 1 year. So when you sign someone, they're signing with you for a year, but then it continues beyond that. And after a year, it becomes 60 days notice. So if someone is unhappy and they want to leave, they give you 60 days notice. And I think depending on the agent and the level of that particular talent and how busy they are, you might release them immediately, or you might hold them to the 60 days. I've always felt that 1 year, while I think it's there really to protect the small agencies in Canada, and I think it's an important clause, but I've always told people when they sign with me that if you're not happy in 6 months and you don't want to be here, you come tell me, because if I can't make somebody happy in 6 months, then maybe we weren't meant to be a good fit after all.
Mm-hmm. Totally. It's really interesting. So speaking of that, sort of imagining that our sort of hypothetical actor, whoever we're talking about in our mind here, has now signed and sort of is starting that working relationship. That's a whole different bag of tricks from the process of getting into the door and starting the relationship, but then actually sort of maintaining and growing the relationship with your agent is essential, and it's hard work, and I think it's new for a lot of actors. I think a lot of actors, their first time working with an agent, when I can remember being 23, 24 years old and saying like, oh, I'm afraid to email my agent, or I'm afraid to, I don't want to bother them, but I'm afraid I'm not getting enough. I'm afraid I'm not doing enough. There's a lot of trepidation around it. So I'd love to peel some of that back and sort of ask if you guys can describe a great sort of actor-agent relationship, sort of the platonic ideal of what you have or could have with a client. And I would imagine it's probably pretty different for LA commercial and Canadian acting work, Marlene, what does that look like for you?
Oh gosh. Well, first of all, when we sign people, we send out a huge packet that explains all of our policies. So one of them is, if we feel we need new pictures, please go ahead and get new pictures. We're happy to recommend photographers if you need it. Please take a class if we recommend that you take a class. So it's pictures, classes. It's just really, pictures, classes, and book out. If you're going to be out of town, you got to book out with us. One of the red flags is, oh, I forgot to book out. I can't make that audition. So we're really big on communication. If it's slow and you're concerned, reach out to us. We encourage communication, but not over communication. Not like, oh, can you submit me for this? Did you submit me for that? Did you, but let us know, hey, I'm concerned. It's been slow in my category. Is there anything I can do to up the ante? What is your thought? Should I get a new picture? So we're big on communication, but book out, get your photos. The big red flags for us are when people aren't kind of following the guidelines, and like Jennifer said, the responsibility factor. that's huge for us. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
just to clarify for anyone who's listening that might not understand but or have heard the term, booking out is just really simply letting your
Oh, sorry.
reps know when you're going out of town, you're unavailable to audition for any reason whatsoever. And how does that play out for you, Marlene? Do you have clients, or have you had clients in the past who are like, wow, you've been booking out sort of on a monthly basis here, not for work purposes, sort of for personal purposes? Does that start to become exhausting?
Well, yeah, what we say is when in doubt, book out. So if you need 3 months off, we'd rather you take the 3 months and book out solid than, oh, I need this day, I need that, because then it gets tricky for us to submit and not submit. Are you going to be available for the audition, the callback, the avail? We'd rather, and I think actors are afraid to book out too much because they think, oh, it's not going to look good, or I need to take a year off or 6 months off. We'd rather you do what you need to do. If you have family issues, if you need to move for 3 months, book out with us. When in doubt, book out. That's our motto.
Yeah.
We'd rather see you take 3, 6 months, whatever, and then be clearly ready and available for us versus, 3 days this week, 4 days that way. That's not going to work. So please book out. Also let us know if you booked a theatrical job. A lot of people will do that, and the girls add notes on everyone's resume currently starring in this, and give us information. I just booked this, or I'm guest starring on this show. That's all stuff we like to add when pitch notes happen, when we're trying to get you in for an audition.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of sort of speaks to that same thing that Jen was talking about building a relationship. Like in any relationship, you want transparency and honesty and openness, and like keeping things like that from your agent is probably not going to serve you in the long run.
And what's fun, I just want to add, is that, we're big on Instagram. So a lot of clients it's really cute. They'll, tag us and show, when they're on set, or things that happened, or I booked this today or that. So it's really a fun way of getting to know them. And then we repost a lot of that. So we're kind of like, yay, we're excited for you. I love chatting with the clients and getting them on social media. So that's a big part of what we do too, is, congratulating them.
Jen, same question. What makes a great client agent relationship?
I think, as I mentioned before, every actor is different, so your relationship with them will differ, but I think communication is the key for me. I believe that intimidation factor has to kind of disappear, and I try to eliminate that from day one. Don't be afraid to call or email me. I'm very accessible. We're very managerial in the way that we agent in Canada because, a lot of my clients have agents and managers in the States. We work as a team with them, but before they get to that stage, you don't have both here. You just have us. And we tend to work in a very managerial way. And because of that, we're constantly talking to the clients and communicating with them. We want to help you build your career and create a trajectory that works for you, and what works for you might be different than what works for this person and this person and this person. And how needy this person is different than how needy this person is. And I hate to use that word, except that it is actually a good word, because some actors really need a lot of, I'll call it hand holding, but they need guidance and they need help with certain things. And so, we wear so many hats as their agent. We wear the travel agent hat. We wear the psychologist hat. We wear the doctor hat. We wear the manager, the mom, you name it. We do so many things for them. And some actors need more than others. And there's no right or wrong in that. What one person needs is just always different than what somebody else needs. And so for me, it's about communicating and understanding who needs what. And if I have an understanding of which clients need certain things, it helps my relationship with those people, because I know that, Jane Doe needs a little bit more time and attention than maybe Jane Smith. So to give you an example, I think that's really important. And also them not being afraid to reach out. And one of the things I know that actors feel like they have no control over their careers, like they literally put their career in somebody else's hands. And I always try and say to them, there is a lot you can be doing for yourself, and there is no reason not to reach out to your agent to ask questions. You just have to do it in a way that's respectful, not, hey, how come I didn't get in on this? Or I heard they're seeing people for this. Why am I not being seen for that? if you do it in a respectful way, maybe your agent doesn't know they're auditioning that role yet, or maybe your agent has been fighting for you to get in and is waiting to either spare your feelings and talk to you about why they're not going to see you, or maybe they're going to get you an audition and it's just coming. So for me, it's about, if you know that projects are going on, of course you should be allowed to reach out to your agent. It will allow you to feel in control. And so I often tell my clients, if they hear about things, send me an email. An email gives me an opportunity to either look into something if I'm not aware of it, or get back to you when I can to have a conversation about it. I just think it's an easier way to have a dialogue, but also for the actor to not feel badly about wanting to know about projects, because they really don't have a say in what they get in on.
Right. And so for in that case, sort of how, you know, obviously someone saying, submit me for this, submit me for this, submit me for this, you know, every time, you know, if every time I saw a 30-year-old brown-haired guy, I told you submit me for it, it would get old after a while. There's certainly a
point. So that's where the trust comes in. I don't want my clients to email me or call me and say, can you submit me for this, submit me for this, submit me for this. They have to trust that I am submitting them for those things, and that we're fighting to get them auditions for them. It's if they hear about something that maybe they didn't get in on, that's maybe when I feel, that's when I want to hear from you. You heard somebody's being seen on this, and maybe I didn't know they were seeing people for that yet. And then that gives me an opportunity to jump on it right away and call the casting director, or if I know the producer or whatnot, and then we can go from there.
Totally. And Marlene, sort of, obviously the commercial world works a little quicker and it's a little less sort of, I think there's less people sort of talking about the roles.
Right, it's so fast paced.
Yeah, but do you find that you have clients who are sort of reaching out too much, saying, send me for this spot, send me for this spot?
Not really. We pretty much, again, I don't get all the day-to-day emails. Julie, Candace, Cassie, they're doing that. But when they do reach out too much, we say, hey, we got you, we're submitting you, we're pitching you. We, you know, every now and then, hey, could you submit? Oh, we already put you in. Don't worry, you're being taken care of. When it gets to be too much, we tell them, look, we got you. We're good. You know, is there something you're concerned about? Do you feel like you need a class? Do you feel like you need new photos, or we might give advice, but we pretty much tame that. And I think most of our clients pretty much get that we're on their side, we're submitting them, we're doing everything we can. And if they, yeah, we kind of encourage them not to over reach out. Sometimes they'll ask in the interview, can I reach out? And yeah, just don't overdo it. You know, if there's something you feel you're perfect for, yeah, just don't go crazy.
I think a lot of times, you know, we have members on Mandy that are sort of positing the question of like, well, what do I do in this downtime? You know, and that's the time to hone your craft and develop your skills and take those improv classes, or you know, go do your scene study, whatever that might be. That's
and the self-tape classes, and
exactly.
Get the tech stuff down, and it's such a good time.
Yeah, exactly. So what about like a submissions report? If an actor says, hey, can I see a list of everything you've submitted me for in the past 3 months, 6 months? Does that irk you? Is that something you do? Is it not even part of your world? I've gotten them from agents before, and they're depressing sometimes. The amount of actual, you know, rooms that you've been in comparison, it does show, you know, how much your agent is going to bat for you, but also I think it's a reality check for some actors to see that like there's a lot going on in the background, you know.
I'm okay if somebody asks me for that. I'm you know, listen, it's your career. If you want to see what you're being submitted for, then I'm happy to send it to you. But I think it's a bigger conversation. I think it's more than just looking at a report, because you're absolutely right. Someone could look at a report and see they've been submitted for 100 things and they've had 4 auditions, and that's going to be really depressing. I think there has to be a bigger conversation about it. There's so much more to it. When you sit down with an actor, maybe instead of asking for a submissions report, you ask to meet with your agent once a year or every 6 months. You ask for a phone call or a meeting, and you talk about the submissions, and you talk about the auditions, or whether there have been callbacks, whether you've booked, what you sort of do like an overview, and then maybe you talk about, why am I not getting more auditions, or why am I not booking more? Because here's the thing, it's your agent's job to get you in the room, but it's your job to book. So if you have a lot of submissions but not a lot of auditions, then that's a conversation you need to be talking to the agent about. What's the reason I'm not getting in the room? If you're getting a lot of auditions, but you're not getting a lot of bookings, then it's the agent's responsibility to say to you, what could you be doing differently because you're not booking? Maybe you need to take more classes, or maybe you need to get a little coaching right before big auditions, or maybe there's something you should be changing in your approach.
Totally. And then do you guys ever reach out if you have a new client or a client that's having, maybe is going through like a sort of dry spell or sort of a rocky period? Do you guys ever reach out to casting directors that you obviously have relationships with and say, hey, how did this person, how was their read in the room? Is there something going on there? Do you ever sort of use that back channel for intel?
For us, we usually don't do that with commercials because, as you said, it is so fast paced and such a quick turnover. I think if there's an issue, usually casting will reach out to us and say, if there's a problem with someone or something's going on, but they don't have the time or the, there's just too much going on too quickly. So commercially, maybe theatrically it's different, but commercially speaking, we don't really, they don't have the time to say, oh yeah, da, da, da. I mean, we can reach out and go, hey, it's been slow for so-and-so, we'd love to get them in. And they may say, oh, they need a new headshot, or
right.
We'll reach out for certain people when we can. But yeah, generally speaking, it's not something we do in the commercial world here anyway.
Totally.
For on the theatrical side, you're right, it is quite different. And I know that feedback is something that every actor wants and every agent does not want to get. You want to get feedback on some auditions. You do not want to become the agent that calls for feedback after every audition. I don't think casting directors would appreciate it. It becomes, it's time consuming. It takes up the time that I should be putting towards actually pushing to get actors in rooms and looking for work opportunities. Where I will go and look for feedback is if somebody is a new client and they've never been in that room before, I might go to the casting director and say, hey, that was their first audition. What did you think? If someone didn't feel good about an audition, I might reach out to casting and say, she didn't feel good about it. Should she redo it? Do you think she should tape it? Or what did you think? So in those instances, I'll look for feedback. Or if somebody really felt good about it, I might go in and say, hey, what do you think? But what I do all the time is we follow up and say, hey, is so-and-so in the mix on this? And asking if someone is in the mix is really not asking for feedback while asking for feedback, because if they are in the mix, it means they did a good job. If they're not in the mix, it doesn't mean that they didn't do a good job. It just means they might not have been right for the role. So I do like to follow up and find out if my clients have a shot at the part, but I'm not calling for feedback on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think something that actors don't realize sometimes is that feedback would be relatively boring most of the time anyway. It's just kind of like, nope, they weren't right for this. They were fine. Everything was fine. They weren't right.
I will tell you one thing that has changed dramatically now that globally we're doing way more self-tape auditions and everything's become digital. We are watching all of our clients' auditions. So every actor that sends me an audition, my assistant or myself are watching part of it, if not all of it. So I'm going to know in advance if I think someone didn't do a good job.
That's great.
I would like to say that all of my clients are at a level where they're never going to do a bad audition. At least I don't think they do. Right. They may not be in the right direction for what they're looking for, but they're really good actors. They're always doing a good audition.
Right.
But I might watch something and say, you know what, this was not up to snuff for you. I think you should redo it. And we will tell our clients to redo something and give them feedback if we don't think it's good enough.
Absolutely. I think that's great. I mean, why waste the submission otherwise? You might as well put the extra work in and really get something out of it. Yeah. And so when things aren't working, when for you guys does it feel like there are times where it's like, okay, it's time to end this relationship. This relationship is not a match. What kind of things lead to that typically? I think a lot of actors have gone through various agencies, and sometimes the actor ends the relationship, but a lot of times the agent ends the relationship.
For us, I would say if you don't book out, if you continually, we ask you to please let us know when you're going to be out of town, and you don't, we find out last minute, second time, third time, fourth time, you can't make it because you forgot to let us know you're going to New York or whatever, that tells us you're not being responsible, and we don't have time for that, because oftentimes casting won't even let us replace because they're too booked up, especially now. So that's just a huge pet peeve. If we've asked you to take classes, get pictures, and you're not following up, just bad communication. Gosh, yeah, confirming an audition and not showing up, and then casting reaching out and going, "Where's so-and-so? Oh, I'm running a half hour late." Well, you didn't tell us. We could have written a note on the sheet.
Right.
You communicate with us, do the things we ask you to do. It's going to behoove all of us in the end. And you just kind of know when it's time, if we're just not doing much. Yeah.
Do you think, Marlene, is there an expectation, say you've worked with a client for a year and they've had maybe 3 or 4 callbacks, but no bookings? Does that feel like, is there a sort of booking threshold or not?
No, I was going to say, keep hope and keep positive, because I have to tell you, we've had people we've taken that book right off the bat. We've had people that we've taken that 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, sometimes it just takes a minute. It takes a minute for you to get out there and let casting see you, and for you to get to know the type that you are commercially, and, oh, okay, this works or that works. I have clients who we've had for years that they're doing all the right things, but they may not be booking. And then suddenly they book, and they book 1, 2, 3, or they've grown into more mom role, and they were maybe mid to late 20s, and now they're more moms, so now they're more bookable. If talent is good, and they're eventually going to grow into what they're meant to be. I think when we release a client, it's more because they're just not following through, not making things, not booking out, not getting the photos, not taking the classes. But really, if we believe that the talent's there, 3 years could go by and boom, you book 2 nationals. I've seen it happen. I have a girl on a campaign now that it was just so quiet for her, and then now she's booking, and we love her, and it's so nice to see that happen. So you just never know. Stay so positive with commercials, and just listen to, take your agent's advice and do what they ask you to do. And sometimes they're just not happy, and they're like, that doesn't feel right, I'm going to move on. And that's fine. We totally respect that. We want you to be happy. Totally. We want to know that we're keeping up our end of the bargain and getting you busy. So
I love that sort of message of positivity, though, to like keep the faith. If you're doing the work, things might hopefully work out.
I'm telling you, in commercial end, you never know. You just never know. And now it's open to so many more things, and so many more real types, as well as, just good, strong actors. It's all over the place. So it's really cool commercially right now. And, yeah.
And Jennifer, how does that sort of releasing of clients work on your end?
Really hard. I find it really difficult, because you develop a relationship with someone and you care about them, and if they're not working and not getting auditions, I think for me it's less about booking the work and more about not getting in the room. So if casting is no longer wanting to see you, and it's becoming harder and harder to get auditions for someone, there has to be a reason for that. Maybe you might think they're a really great actor, but if you can't convince other people of that, eventually that becomes problematic. And maybe you're not the right person for that particular actor. There are a lot of great actors and a lot of great agents who for some reason aren't a good match. And I've seen a lot of actors who I think are really terrific actors who have either left me and gone to someone else and started to work more, or left someone else and come to me and started to work more. Sometimes fresh eyes really helps an actor on the theatrical side of things. Having said that, I think where you might see it happen sooner is with someone that you haven't had the longevity with, someone who's newer, and maybe you're watching them progress over the first 6 months to a year, and it's just not clicking. Like they're not improving. Because I think when someone, when we take on someone, as I told you earlier, we usually go by referral, but sometimes we'll take someone right out of school. We have a lot of terrific acting teachers that will call us when they have a really special student. And I think, sometimes you see those people book very quickly, and other times it's like you said, they might have to mature into a role. Sometimes they don't fit who they are yet. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but maybe you fall in between a certain age bracket and people just aren't buying it. And then all of a sudden you sort of mature into something different and you book all the time. And in our business, you could literally have a dry year where you don't book one thing, and then the next year you're a series regular on a series. And so it's hard. it's hard to want to break up a relationship based on not booking. So for me, it becomes about other factors. And the responsibility factor is a big one. If somebody is not communicating with you and they're not booking out and they're, constantly missing auditions, this is someone that needs to sort of step up their game, and maybe they're not ready to be with someone, maybe they're not ready to be with me and at that professional level. I think they just need to, I'm trying to not use profanity. I was going to say get their shit together, but basically, yeah. So I think that's what it is. I don't know that I could quantify when I would part ways with someone.
Totally.
You kind of just know, and it's really hard. It's really hard because you do care about those people a lot.
Absolutely. But I think both of you guys have sort of expressed different ways that actors can kind of bounce back from that experience, whether it's finding that new set of fresh eyes who might see you in a different light that is really helpful for your career, or heading back into the studio and getting back into work a little bit and to work on the skill set. So I think the end of the road with an agency is not the end of the road for a career. I think that's important for actors to know that.
Absolutely.
And so we touched on this a little bit, but we talked about the pandemic and how things have changed. Jen, as you mentioned, you get to watch your actors' tapes, which is really cool and really a great sort of resource for them to be able to have you as a sort of gatekeeper. And Marlene, you talked about having that sort of tech capability, the being prepared, having your green screen, your ring light, your camera setup, everything you need in order to throw a tape together. Is there anything else that you've seen change agency-wise in the past few months or tech-wise that you think is important to note for actors who are listening?
I think the one thing that actors are probably really digging right now is that they don't have to drive all over town to make it to their call, especially in LA when you're, on the west side or you're in the valley and you have to go over to Santa Monica, to do your audition. I actually think there's probably more people that are responsive now because they know they can do a self-tape and it's uploaded. They could redo it if it's not good and make it better. They don't have that pressure in the room. In some ways it's been a blessing, I'm sure, because more people are, oh, I can do that. I got my phone, I'm holding it horizontally, I'm doing it. So that's been great. And I think we've had less cancellations. The girls know better, but because people know that they can do it on a tape from their home. We've had some actors have been sent all the equipment and they've filmed themselves doing the commercial, or they've been instructed what to do. They set everything up, or they have someone help, everything's sent all plastic and, sanitized. And so we've had people do home shoots from their phones and obviously getting lots of COVID tests. So in a way, there's been some positives in that. I think there's probably more of confirmations and making things because they don't have to get out and drive, or if they have that doctor appointment, they can do that. They have their timeline to get the tape done and not, I have to be there at 3:30. So in that way, it's been good. And a lot of casting directors now offering self-tape classes, which are fantastic, which we always advertise. People are able, I'm going to, so-and-so for a week, but I'm bringing all my stuff with me so I can tape anything you need. That's pretty cool. That means they're still available, which it was kind of going into that anyway, but even more so now with COVID. So in a way, it's made things more accessible and convenient, I think, on some levels, as crappy as this whole thing's been.
Totally. Jen, anything on your side, tech-wise?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The self-tape has become the way of doing things. There are a few casting directors that are doing these Zoom sessions that are offered through different breakdown services. And so some of them are doing live Zoom sessions, which is great for the actors because they can get direction from a director or producer. But for the most part, I find people are asking for self-tapes. And what that's doing is it's turning the actors and the agencies into, unfortunately, people who really need to be more tech savvy. Where I find it's really difficult are for some of my older actors who are not of a generation that are used to using technology in that way, and they're having to figure out self-tape. So we're lucky to have a lot of self-tape facilities in Toronto that they can go to and they can do the work for them. But I think you're right. The idea of not having to drive everywhere has been really great for a lot of people. They just set it up in their home and they can do as many takes as they want until they feel happy with it. And like, it's been really interesting. I do think that the technological side of it is complicated, and we're asking a lot of our actors now. We're asking you to learn your scene. We're asking you to now know how to light your face. We're asking you to have a perfect background, get a ring light, use your phone, and then send us an audition.
Yeah, it is a lot, but that's kind of always the way it is, right? Like there's always something,
Yeah.
always changing. The industry's always been changing.
Yeah.
It's not going to slow down. I'd love to ask, so actors who are watching, obviously on Mandy.com, we have a service provider directory where you can check out any agents who are part of Mandy.com and have their books open. You can submit to them directly via Mandy. For you guys, Marlene and Jen, if actors do want to send materials to DDO or to the characters, is there a function on your website? How do they go about doing that?
For us, yeah, everything's on our website, ddoagency.com. All the agents are on there. You could submit to all the commercial agents. I head the division. I'm one of the owners, but every time I get a submission, I pass it on to our incredible agents, Julie and Candace and Cassie, and we all decide if there's, they decide if there's someone we want to meet. But basically, send an email, go on the website. All the information is there. You can send it to me, Marlene at DDOagency.com. I'll forward it on to the team and see if there's something we can do. Yeah, we do have a theatrical division. If it's theatrical, make sure you're sending it to Anthony. Again, we have divisions in New York and Chicago. Sorry, that's my dog crying. New York and Chicago, full service, voiceover, theatrical, everything. Just make sure you're finding the right person to send your info to.
Yeah, do your research, and as we heard from Marlene, keep it short and sweet. Don't go too long.
In my opinion, but everyone's different, subjective,
Totally. And Jen, how about for you guys?
Yeah, if you go to our website at thecharacters.com, there's a submission prompt, and it'll tell you whether you're submitting to the Toronto office or whether you're submitting to the Vancouver office, and it will tell you what to submit, and it will go to all the agents. So as I mentioned, each of us has our own roster. So we all see a general submission, and then if somebody's interested, they'll get back to you. If you do want to send to somebody specific, you can still send it to that site and just address it to the specific agent, and they'll, hopefully, usually I find if it's specifically addressed to someone, then you're more likely to get a response. When you send to the general submission mailbox, it's a lot tougher to get an answer from someone. I just know if somebody sends to me, I'm always going to respond. Usually I'm responding saying I'm not taking on clients, but I do make sure that everybody in the office gets to see the submission. So if someone sends to me and I'm not taking someone on, I'll pass it around to the other agents just in case.
Totally. Before we finish up, is there anything else that you have an audience of actors here? Is there anything else that you think is important for them to hear, or that you want to share or make known, since we sort of have pulled back the Wizard of Oz curtain for an hour?
One thing I just want to say is, Jen was saying how they handle clients. Every agent has their own clients, and it's different. For us in commercial and in LA's division, we have a bunch of clients, and we all, the different agents deal with different casting directors, but they represent each talent, generally. So it's not like, sorry, just got a text. It's not like, sorry, I have people here. What was I saying? I just lost my train of thought.
Your agents work with different CDs and not with.
Yeah. We all work together with the talent. We don't separate by agent. I just want to say that we're people. We like people. We're big on communication. Proud of my division. The girls kick butt. We have incredible divisions in New York: voiceover, theatrical, kids. So proud of what we built over the past, 20 plus years. I can't believe I've been there that long. And just keep it going. Things are picking up. Commercially, things are going well. Voiceover, things are going incredibly. Theater's different. Obviously, you can't have live theater right now, which kind of blows. But, at some point soon, that will hopefully be different. Hopefully we'll get a vaccine or who knows what. But, guys, hang in there and be persistent and network, do your studies. I've seen some people, when they get a commercial audition, they look at the site, say it's TJ Maxx, and see, well, who are they catering to? What kind of people do they put in their commercials? Go on YouTube. So they do their research, and sometimes they nail that commercial because they know what the product is desiring and what might make you book. So just learn, be open, advertise yourself on your Instagram, show us what you're about. In a nutshell, that's just stuff I wanted to say. Hope that helps a little.
No, it's great. That's really, really helpful advice. Jen, anything else from you?
Yeah, probably along the same lines, just bet on yourself, really invest in yourself and do the homework, do the work, put it in, think of yourself as the CEO of your own company and you are the product, and just really put everything you can into it and be persistent and don't give up. I like the network thing. It's true. You just got to make sure you get out there and talk to people and learn as much as you can. You can never stop learning in this business. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. There's always room to grow.
Awesome. That is
100%.
fantastic advice. Both of you are so amazing. You're such huge leaders in the industry, and our industry is lucky to have you. And we're so lucky to have you at Mandy.com today. Marlene and Jennifer, thank you so much for your time. This has been so pragmatic and positive and wonderful. Really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
I hope you have a great rest of your day, and to everyone watching, get to work. Thank you.
Great.
Good luck to all you actors
Good luck,
out there.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.